Dean, welcome.
Yo, Go Logic, how you been?
Been pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, good. Yeah. So is there like a particular topic of discussion here, or
Yep,
what's
it's
happening?
why do you dislike Paul?
Yeah. So I'll go back to what the other brother was saying. He contradicts what the apostles taught. This is like historically taught that if you look at the historicity of the earliest Christians, they didn't believe Jesus to be deified, and this was like a later development. And it's proven that like Paul did have some form of deified conception of Jesus to at least some extent.
I
So
got you. So whoever goes against the teachings of the apostles, that's where that then you're a false messenger.
yeah, so any theological distinctions, you'll be seen as someone that's deviating from the doctrines that Jesus taught.
All right. Where do you get the teachings of the apostles?
Yeah, sure. So we can look at it from like a historical secular perspective, or you can look at it from an Islamic perspective. From the historical Islamic perspective, sorry, the historical secular perspective does actually align with the Islamic one, and the conception that the earliest Christians were all Jews. They believed in one God. They believed in
Where do the earlier where do the secular scholars get the teachings of the apostles?
yeah, these multiple sources, they would do like textual criticism on the Bible. So the Bible would be one of their sources, but they wouldn't be taking it
Thank you
wholesale
so
because
much.
obviously they would be saying they would be critiquing the reliability of the sources because
No,
they do
they
take.
say that this is what they believed and taught. They used the Bible. So and you admitted it that some one of their
But the
sources.
scholars don't take it
Wait a second.
wholesale.
Wait a second. You yourself admitted that one of their sources that they gleaned from to get the teachings of the apostles is in the Bible. So when we look at the teachings of the apostles that we find in the Bible, you're saying that Paul contradicts them?
Yeah, from the historical actual conception of what the disciples taught, that would be contradicting what Paul taught. Now, to get an understanding of what the disciples taught, the scholars that I mentioned aren't going to be taking the Bible wholesale. That's like the composition
Do they
fallacy.
take the Bible to understand
Yeah,
what the apostles taught?
just allow me to finish. Yeah, they do take parts of the Bible there, but they don't take it wholesale, as I
They
said.
take
So,
the
for
no, they
example,
take the Bible to know what what the apostles taught and believed about
but
Jesus.
that's the composition fallacy. They don't take the entirety of the Bible.
Do the all right, for example, do the secular historians, historical scholars, uh, conclude that the apostles believed that Jesus died by crucifixion and rose again on the third day, and that they thought that they saw
Rising,
him?
no. No, rising. Secular historians would not believe that. I
Yes,
believe
they do.
they would believe that's ahistorical. This idea
No,
that
wait. So
Jesus
just to be
was
clear,
resurrected.
you're saying that the secular scholars, non-Christian scholars,
Hmm.
do not agree that the apostles believed that they saw a resurrected Christ?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, what does Bart Ehrman say on this issue? He's a
Yeah, so
secular,
Barton,
right?
yeah, he's a secular historian. He would be saying that early Christians did believe in the resurrection, but it wouldn't be the apostles. He would be saying it would possibly be Paul believing in this, as well as the writers
No,
of the gospel.
he said no. He says the disciples of Jesus believed that they saw a resurrected Christ. This is one of the facts that they
No,
all agree on.
no,
All
I
right,
highly
so
doubt that.
who's somebody who's a reputable historian, a
Bart
reputable
Ehrman, yeah,
Christian?
Bart Ehrman, yeah. So
Yeah,
Bart Ehrman talks about this. He debates other scholars on this
yeah,
topic
good.
of the
So
resurrection of Jesus.
who's a reputable historian? Give me a reputable historian who says that the disciples did not think that they saw a risen Christ.
Yeah, Bart Ehrman.
Can you bring it up, please?
Yeah, I mean, just gonna have to give me a sec.
No, take your time.
Maybe in the meantime, you can show me what he says that they do believe as well.
I'll just wait for you.
Yeah, man, it's not gonna be something I can pick up like in 1 minute. It was in his discussion where he had a debate. So in the meantime, we could just continue the discussion. I want to talk about the epistemics
Well,
of
you're
what
you're,
you were
you're
saying
building
before.
you're building your stuff on a false premise here. You're trying to say now that there are secular scholars that say the secular reputable historians, New Testament historians, who say that the disciples did not think that Jesus rose. Who says that? You said Bart Ehrman says, I need it.
Okay, just give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
I wonder how he is going to find that.
Yep, this will be interesting. We'll give us some time. Dean's a smart
Mhm.
guy. He has good sources. Shoot up dee doo. Shoot up dee doo. Shoo-ba-doo, da-ba-da, doo-ba-doo, da-ba-da-da, doo-doo. Shoo-ba-doo, da-ba-da, doo-ba-doo, da-ba-da-da, doo-doo. Shoo-ba-doo, da-ba-da, doo-ba-doo, da-ba-da-da, doo-doo. Shoo-doo, dee-doo. Shoo-doo, dee-doo. Shoo-ba-doo, da-ba-da, doo-ba-doo. Make sure you guys hit the like button on the stream if you guys are enjoying this.
Okay, so it seems like from what he's saying on his blog, the disciples didn't witness his resurrection, but this idea came to the disciples, and from his perspective, they came to believe this from an early band of followers that Jesus had. So it's not, my claim would just be that they didn't witness it, but from his perspective, they came to believe in it. But I just dispute the historicity of the people who claim to have witnessed it.
Oh, hold on a second now. So it's not Bart Ehrman that says that they didn't find or didn't believe that they saw a risen Christ. They did believe it. The earliest followers of Jesus believed that they saw a risen Christ. They had an experience. Come on, man.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, he says that they believed in the resurrection through other testimonies, but there's no evidence that the disciples themselves saw him
No,
rise.
that's not what he says there. Does he say?
How do you know he says? Do you have it in front of you?
No, can you let's pull it up, please? Can you put the link in here so we can all look at it? And let's read it together to see what you're leaving out here.
Okay.
You put it in the chat?
Yep.
All right. All right. Let me share this. Okay. Let me zoom in a bit so we can all see it. Oops. Wrong. All right. Can everybody see that? Is it clear enough? So this is from Bart Ehrman's blog, right? The most important result of the disciples' belief that God had raised Jesus from the dead was that it radically changed their understanding of what it meant to say Jesus was the Messiah. So the disciples believed that Jesus was raised from the dead, according to Bart Ehrman, right?
Yeah. So if you just got to keep reading, and we can gain an
All right.
understanding.
Of course. So the disciples believed that Jesus was raised from the dead. Nice. As I have explained before, that in my view, Jesus did believe he was the Messiah. Da, 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 da. Given everything we know, the Jews believe. Whoop, 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 whoop.
What are you doing? Read it.
But
Yeah,
this
I'll
is
read it.
not
I'll read
like
it.
it's not it's
Yeah, no, it's
irrelevant.
fine. It's fine. I'll read it. I'll read it. Okay. So
I'll continue, but it's just it's
yeah,
I'm in
instead
trouble.
of blah blah blah
So
blah, can
Jesus,
we just read
no,
it?
I'm
Yeah.
just relax. I like to read what's relevant, but if you want to, I don't mind this. Okay. So
What you take
as
to be
I've
irrelevant, I take to be
explained that
relevant.
in my view, Jesus did believe he was the Messiah, and his followers believed it. Given everything we know about Jewish beliefs at that time, that almost certainly mean that they thought that he was the king of the Jewish people. That's certainly how the Roman governor Pontius Pilate took it. It was because Jesus made such a claim that Pilate ordered him crucified. The crucifixion would have proved beyond any doubt to anyone paying attention that Jesus was not the Messiah after all. By the way, so according to Bart Ehrman, did the disciples believe that Jesus was crucified?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so they believed that Jesus was crucified, and they believed that God raised him from the dead. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Remember,
the reason,
and according to what you
and
said,
you gotta wait
according,
1 second. You
wait,
can't just ask
according
me
to what
yes or
you
no.
said, let me just land this, and I'll let you say
You
what
can't
you
just ask me yes or no. Then let me
Well,
expand.
I asked
Yeah, no,
asked it for
yeah,
a reason.
it's fine. It's
I
fine.
asked it for a reason,
Just let me
Dean.
expand. Because
Dean,
if you're
I
just gonna,
asked it for a
if you're
reason.
just gonna read,
I
listen.
asked it
If you're
for a
just gonna
reason.
read and
So
you're
you
gonna
just
ask me
said so.
yes
Now
or
I
no,
got to mute you. So be quiet. Control yourself. I asked it for a reason. So your stance was that whatever doesn't go with historically the secular historical view of what the disciples believed and taught, then that means that person would be a false messenger. According to the secular historians, well, one of them at least, they say clearly that the disciples believed that Jesus was crucified, and they believed that Jesus rose again on the third, that Jesus rose from the dead. So by your standard, Muhammad's already out, and Paul's in right now. But let's keep reading.
no, yeah, okay. So allow me to respond to that if you're gonna make a claim. So
Go ahead.
yeah, so the idea of Jesus being crucified, that's fine. There's no problem with believing that.
What about
And
rising from the dead?
if the disciples did come to believe that the way that Jesus, peace be upon him, was not killed, or that he did actually manage to survive the crucifixion, if they did believe that for some reason he was resurrected, that has no bearing on him being deified, has no bearing on the Trinity, has no bearing on all of these doctrines that develop later on. So even if
It has every bearing on that.
even if the Muslims were to take this historical perspective, that the disciples later on took these testimonies of Jesus being resurrected, then he was risen, there's no incompatibility with Islam. But go ahead.
That's an incompatibility with Islam. To believe and teach that Jesus died by crucifixion goes against Islam, according to our last conversation with you, because he didn't. You said that he didn't die; it was made to appear so, and not to them. You said that they followed conjecture of liars. If they're going around believing this and spreading this, they're spreading this lie and this deceit that directly goes against Islam. Because you said that the disciples, you said the disciples to go against them, what they taught and believed, you said to go against them would make you a false messenger. That's what you said.
Yeah,
so Muhammad is a false messenger for going against the crucifixion of Jesus, which the disciples believed.
Yeah, in terms of theological,
that's theological.
Yeah, wait, one second. Anything that Jesus taught the disciples that was theological in nature, and they transmitted to us, that is going to be co-aligned within Islam. These aren't being transmitted by Jesus. These are being transmitted by the Jews.
You said the disciples.
Wait, let me just finish. Let me just finish. So any theological beliefs that the disciples learned from Jesus and they transmitted is going to be aligned within Islam.
You said the disciples.
As I just let me finish, if you don't mind. So the disciples within the chain of transmission of theological beliefs that they're getting from Jesus.
This is theological. This is theological. What are you talking about? What are you waffling about? This is theological.
You can't just interrupt and say and make a point. Wait for me to finish, then maybe
then address it directly.
Maybe your question will have an answer. Just let me finish.
You don't have an answer.
Yeah, things that are theological in nature, things that are theological in nature that the disciples might have believed coming from other sources, such as Jesus being crucified or such as Jesus being resurrected. If they did believe in these things, and they did teach these things, they're not going to be held accountable because they didn't know that the true beliefs is that Jesus wasn't resurrected or that
Look
Jesus
at
wasn't
that, ladies and
crucified.
gentlemen. They won't be held accountable because they didn't know. Forget the deceit that Allah left out. They didn't know, so they won't be held accountable for going around preaching that Jesus was crucified, and then also the theological belief that Jesus rose again from the dead, which you said that if you go against what the disciples taught, then you're a false messenger. My
The
God,
disciples,
Dean, hold
listen,
on, Dean,
I made
hold
a
on, Dean,
caveat
Dean,
that
hold on, Dean,
whatever they
hold
taught
on, Dean,
from
hold
Jesus
on, Dean,
himself.
hold on, Dean. Let's keep reading because now we're discovering your lie about what you said about Bart Ehrman. So it says here, the crucifixion would have proved beyond a doubt that to anyone paying attention that he wasn't the Messiah. After all, rather than overcoming the enemy to establish a new kingdom, he was squashed by the enemy, publicly humiliated and tortured to death. That was the opposite of what would happen with the Messiah. But then something equally dramatic happened. The disciples came to believe that Jesus was raised from the dead. They started working out the implications of that belief for understanding Jesus. And it led over a long series of reflections among a number of Jesus' growing band of followers to rather amazing conclusions. It is in fact the beginning of the idea of a Trinity. Dean, you literally said that the belief in the burial, in the death of Jesus Christ and his resurrection did not lead to these theological mishaps that's incompatible with the Quran. When Bart Ehrman here says that the disciples believe, by the way, the disciples believing that Jesus was raised again from the dead is the beginning of the idea of a Trinity.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to go back to the beginning, just a bit before that. Yeah, just up there. And if you don't mind, just a bit down, a bit down, a bit down. Just yeah. I want to include the bottom section as well. Down. Yeah, stop there. Okay. So the crucifixion would have proved beyond any doubt to anyone paying attention that Jesus was not the Messiah after all. So the disciples would have had this conception, okay, we need to reconcile this with the fact that we do believe Jesus is the Messiah. Now, they don't have any form of divine revelation given to them. So, yeah, this idea that the Messiah would be killed contradicts the idea of Messiahship. But then something equally dramatic happened. So after the crucifixion of Jesus, the disciples came to believe that he was raised from the dead. They started working out the implications of that belief for understanding Jesus. And where did they get this from? They got this from a growing band of followers from other people that claimed they saw Jesus resurrected. Now let me finish. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. I
Do
still
not
have
lie
other
to the
things to
text.
address. You have to let me.
Wait,
You have to let me
stop,
finish.
stop. Does it say
I'm not
that
going to
they
continue
got
if you're
this
just going to
from
interrupt.
a growing band of followers? Does he say that?
Does he say that? Does he believe that that the disciples witnessed him resurrect?
Dean, you're about 5 seconds from just getting out of here because you're such a liar, bro. Stop doing this to yourself. You was just reading it verbatim. You wasn't giving any commentary. You were reading it verbatim. Why did you add in that they got this from a growing band of
It's
followers?
implied.
Does
Read
he
it right
say
there.
that they
They
got this
started.
from?
Read it right there. They started working out the implications of that belief for
Who
understanding
did?
Jesus. This was the disciples after Jesus was crucified,
Ah,
and it led over a long series of reflections among a number of Jesus' growing band of followers to
mm-hmm,
amazing conclusions. So
mm-hmm,
from the disciples and these early growing band of followers,
mm-hmm.
they came to these amazing conclusions after the crucifixion.
Yes, after they believed what?
After they had believed that Jesus died by getting these testimonies from other than Jesus.
Well, no,
From
wait. Where does it say that they got a testimony from anyone other than Jesus? It
oh my
doesn't say
days.
none of that. Or are you presupposing your Islamic view here?
Okay, would it be historical to say that the disciples weren't present at the time of the crucifixion?
No, it wouldn't be historical to say that. Because
Okay.
according to the historical narratives, the disciples were there. They were watching from a distance these things.
Yeah,
One of the disciples was there at
from
the
a
foot of the
distance.
cross.
Exactly, they ran away, and from a distance, a few women saw that someone was being crucified.
Not just the women. It says that all who knew him and followed him from Galilee watched these things from a distance.
From a distance, were they able to? Okay, were they able to make up the fact that this was
Yeah,
Jesus?
they were they were watching from a distance. Wait, you mean to tell me?
Where do you get this from?
Hold on a second.
Where do you get this from?
From the book of Mark and Luke, by the way.
Okay, Mark and Luke. Okay, show
So
me a
time out.
historian that agrees
Are
with
you
that.
saying? Hold on. Let's get back to this. Are you saying now? Can you at least apologize or say, you know what? I did read this into the text. That
No,
this stuff.
I wasn't reading.
It doesn't say that they believed that Jesus was resurrected based off something that got something from non-Jesus, something they didn't get from Jesus themselves or whatever. It doesn't say that, right?
Okay, tell me what you understand by they started working out the
I just
implications of
asked,
that
does it say
belief,
that or not?
and it led. Yes, it's implied over a long series of reflections among a number of Jesus' growing band of followers.
Hey, Dean, man, this was fun, bro. Thank you for this clip. I appreciate it. You have my permission to go ahead and download this part of our conversation and upload it to your channel. I hope you do, because a lot of people need to see this. So keep spreading the good.
Sounds good.
This
Sounds
is-
good. And listen,
take
this
care.
whole idea.